UFC Baku. We're sailing the bloody waters on over to the east to Azerbaijan. Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr. Fun fact, folks, over in Baku, it's about 90 feet below sea level. You always hear about elevation issues, cardio issues, needing to acclimate. You probably got its own set of issues right here, but we'll talk about it. Bringing it in with me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native. AJ, have you heard anything about that? Do you know being super low below sea level, does that give you some cardio issues? What's your thoughts on that?
From my experience, Derek, never cardio issues. You had more of a gas tank going in, right? You have a little bit more oxygen to breathe, a little bit lungs feeling a little bit better. I mean, it's hot over there, so who knows how the humidity is going to play into effect, but I do know they're going to have a little extra gas in that tank.
Interesting because we're going on the road. We've been saying it, let's get out of the Apex. We're in Atlanta last week, all over the world, making that global presence once again. Don't know if you knew this one as well, man. Azerbaijan, this was one, or I think Baku specifically, this was one of the first places that oil boomed off before America was over here digging our greedy palms up in that joint, man. So there's some rich history right here. Hopefully we're gonna get some violence, some rich knockouts. There's a lot of unders for the totals on the main card, so we'll see how that sea level stuff plays into effect. But folks, we're not gonna mince any words. We're gonna jump straight into it. AJ, you got a sleeper for UFC Baku. The rule is no main card plays right here. It has to be a prelim. It has to be free to watch. It's all free to watch more or less, but it has to be exciting and get the people going. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it, brother. What do you got for your sleeper this week?
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
Folks, we got an exciting one. We got a rematch as a sleeper for this one, and last time one of these ladies actually went to sleep, folks. We're talking about Daria Zelyannikova versus Melissa Mullins in the women's 135-pound bantamweight division right here. Now, I exaggerated on the intro a little bit, but Zelyannikova did end up getting a ground and pound finish against her in round one with 1 second left in their last fight. So you know she wants to get this one back. And if you don't know either fighter, Zelyannikova, polished striker, finishing power, likes to pressure and likes to let the combos fly. She has serious pop in her right hand, right? And Melissa Mullins, she's an absolute dog in the division. Likes to walk you down, drag you around just to dominate the fight. Here's what you need to know, all right? 9 finishes between the two of them. One fighter who's looking to prove that last time was a fluke. The other one looking to show it's easy work. Plus, both fighters are very young in their UFC career, so a lot of time to make moves in this ever-evolving women's bantamweight division. Not only that, there's a lot of opportunity to really make a name change in this division. This has also a sleeper written all over it, folks.
When we bring a women's bantamweight matchup to the sleeper portion of the program, it's got to be fireworks. It's got to be fun. Both fighters, notably, too, 2-1 in their UFC career. So, who's going to take the step forward? We shall see. But that was an Aries matchup originally, man. So, fun one right there. All right, folks, you heard it from the man himself. That's your sleeper. Let's jump straight into the main card. Let's jump into the main event here, AJ.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Bad blood, so they say. Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree. Is this Bangkok ready, Rountree? We will see. That's always been the unpredictable nature of the fighter. But we need to talk about sweet dreams Jamahal Hill first, man. Coming off of back-to-back losses, back-to-back knockout losses. This is uncharted territory in the man's career. And given that you have Khalil Rountree surging off of his last fight against Alex Pereira, which we got to break it down. We got to really talk about this, man. He won a round. I'm not sure. He had 2 rounds against Alex Pereira that were exciting, that got people going because he did better than he was anticipated by the people. But if you look at the end total of the fight, he was outstruck in every round. He got finished in round 4. I mean, Alex Pereira pretty much put the work on him and got him out of there. But for whatever reason, AJ, Rountree opens up. He's a minus 130 favorite right now, the former champion. Jamahal Hill, plus 110 comeback. Give me your thoughts on the perception, because narrative is a hell of a thing. We saw it last week. Kamaru Usman closed at over plus 200 odds, and he pretty much steamrolled Joaquin Buckley. Are we walking into another trap game here?
Derek, I think we might be, my man. I mean, perception aside, right? Like the numbers, the history you're listing, I can see where a lot of people are hating on Jamahal Hill. But for all of his career, it seems like people have been hating on Jamahal Hill, and as well as a lot of people like Rountree, like the guy he is, like to push him forward in this one. So I do think a lot of that comes into play, but I'm with you. When I saw this, I was expecting it to be switched with Jamahal Hill being the favorite.
I mean, I'm not surprised per se. I've been scrounging the YouTube comment sections as I've been doing some film study, and you'll see that a common trend is Khalil Rountree is the more likable guy, so that's why I think he's going to win. Jamahal Hill, he's so bitter after his losses. Oh, he's definitely going to lose. And it's like, all right, but let's actually break down the fight. And when I did my film study here, AJ, I don't know if you felt the same way. I don't feel confident about either one of these main event fighters right here. Like, I totally don't. Khalil Rountree, he's a low-volume striker with massive power upside, but once the fight goes past about like 2.5 rounds, things start to slip away from his grasp. Jamahal Hill, even though he's had holes in his game, which I want to talk about here, but he has some big wins, some big knockouts, but the last 2 fights, especially the last fight against Yuri Prochazka, with the knee braces on, he had to postpone this fight because of a partial meniscus tear, I believe. Things just didn't look like the sweet dreams we saw against like Thiago Santos, for an example, or against Glover Teixeira. What do you think? Let's talk about the holes in the game of Jamahal Hill right here. First and foremost, notably, the footwork of Jamahal Hill. How is this going to factor into Khalil Rountree having those kicks ready?
Yeah, I'm glad you noted that, Derek, because one of the things I like and see a problem in the Jamahal Hill game is he's down to sit in the pocket and trade. And if you sit in the pocket heavy on that front foot, heavy with a couple knee injuries, like you said, Bangkok-ready Khalil Rountree will just absolutely chop that tree down, man. He hits with power, like you said, very thick. This guy delivers, and we've seen with Jamahal Hill, his even if he's not engaging, his lack of tendency just to get away once his combo's done, right? He's down, he sits in there, and it's an exciting fight, but it does provide him a lot of chances to get touched up.
I think that's where Khalil Rountree can come in and make some noise here early on in this fight. I think a finish can happen here. Don't get me wrong. I think if the fight gets extended, it's probably leaning towards Hill, but I think a finish can come early, most notably because you saw when Alex Pereira didn't have the speed advantage against Rountree, where did the blitzes come from? When he was pushed up against the cage for Khalil Rountree, he comes in not with 1, not with 2, sometimes with 3 or 4 in a row. And Jamahal Hill, with that lack of footwork, you do a lot of leaning. You do a lot of not moving your feet, but just moving your head. Now, here's the problem right here. Khalil Rountree, again, he's a low-volume striker, but in those bursts, in that massive power, he can make damage. But can you hit Jamahal Hill is really the question. Look at the reach advantage. It's only a 2-inch reach disadvantage for Khalil Rountree. I want to say it was a little bit longer for Alex Pereira, but I could be wrong about that one. I mean, Jamahal Hill is literally the larger opponent, larger than Alex Pereira was in that fight, and we saw how undersized Khalil Rountree was there. Do you think he's going to have a problem hitting the target?
I think for the first, especially right when the fight starts, Derek, I do like the blitz that Rountree has because, like you said, he is throwing volume in it. And being the shorter fighter, you need to close that distance in the range to actually get in there and do some damage. But I do think it's going to take a minute and a half or a round and a half maybe to kind of figure this one out. I see the fight going longer, but I'm with you, man. There's things in both fighters' game where if they find those moments, they can hit that knockout shot. If Rountree is able to blitz in and then just find that chin, find where Jamahal Hill is overextending or pulling back, he can touch the chin and put people to sleep. It's just finding those moments is going to be hard at the start.
Hill's been knocked out in his last 2 fights, man. He got dropped actually early on in that fight against Yuri and then put away. It wasn't the beatdown that we saw for Pereira and Rountree, but do you think that the chin is starting to waver a little bit for Hill?
I don't want to say yes, Derek, because we've been proved wrong, especially with Jamahal Hill before. Remember, he had the whole hand issue going on. That goes in next fight. That's the first one he throws. So I don't doubt him. But there are inklings that talk is out there, and it's something to keep an eye on.
I mean, major significant strike differential, and if you look at the numbers right here, Jamahal Hill, 7 significant strikes landed per minute. A lot of that came, I do believe, in the Glover-Teixeira fight, where a lot of people are discounting it now, right? Like, Glover was doing the thing when he was on top, and then he loses the belt, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, he was an old man, washed. Both of these fighters don't have the strongest resumes in the light heavyweight division, but my question to you here, AJ, is the light heavyweight division just not that good, right? Like, ever since the departure of the John Jones era, it just feels like you don't have guys you can make a hit list name off of. They just don't exist. They're not in the division.
Yeah, I was hesitated right there for a little second, Derek, because I'm thinking like top 5. We've had the same top 5 since the John Jones era, and none of them have made a real big impact for it. We've seen some come and go, right? The Anthony Smiths, the different names that have shuffled through this, but nobody has made that impact. So the answer to your question might be yes, Derek. Yeah. It may not be as good as it used to be.
All right, fair, fair. My last point on this one before we jump into the actual plays on this is that this is a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. I'm really interested here to see whose jab is going to be working because Rountree has a good jab. Jamahal Hill has a good jab. But Rountree notably was getting pieced up by the jab of Pereira. In a southpaw versus southpaw matchup with all of that hand fighting, it's really a matter of whose foot gets on the outside, which again concerns me because of lack of footwork for Jamahal Hill. But number two, hand fight, pop the jab. Are both jabs going to get equalized? Then it leads to a battle of rear hands. And if it does, man, whose power is scarier? Whose power is scarier, in your opinion?
Off the top, Rountree, but only because of just pure power. We're talking power and precision, Hill.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll see what happens right here, but I have a pretty clear way that I see this fight going, man. I don't think Rountree has anything to lose in this fight. I think the pressure is completely off of him because let's be real, man. You got the fight over Pereira. People are singing your praises in a fight where you got knocked out. Jamahal Hill, if you lose this fight, if you get knocked out 3 times in a row, title hopes, being a top contender, your entire title run will probably now be considered a fluke, right? And it sucks to say, but that's the reality, man. It's like, how do you achieve the gold and then go so far in the opposite direction? I think a loss for Rountree kind of does nothing to his career. I mean, it's smooth sailing more or less, right? It's like, oh, I hope I get another opportunity. This was really the shot to get into the rankings. All the pressure is on Hill, back against the wall moment right here. For that reason, AJ, I'm going to roll with the plus money. I'm going to take a repeat on last week. I'm going to take the former champion at plus money right here. You can clock him out plus 105, plus 110 right now. I think that the narrative is shifting this odd for Rountree. And I think that the fight's going to go over 2.5 rounds right here. I really think that the longer this one goes, Hill is the play, but I like the money line by itself. How are you seeing this?
I'm with you, especially the previous champ being at plus money right here, folks, all day long. I can see how this fight ends, but I'm with Derick. I think this one's going the longer distance. I like Hill. I like the decision as well, but I'm rocking with you on the money line. It makes the most sense.
Would you do a plus money play on that decision? Let me see where we're sitting at. Right now, for a decision for Jamahal Hill, plus 475 on points. Are you taking a total? You taking a money line? Or are you rolling on the points?
You know, Derick, I'm going with the decision. I feel good about it. I think with Hill, how he needs to fight this one to be able to stay safe in the style of fight that he's going to fight, he's going to want to extend it. I like the decision at plus 475. I'm running with it.
All right. Well, may the odds ever be in your favor, my friend. We'll stick with the over 2.5 to keep it safe right here. But if you are a Khalil Rountree bettor, I do encourage you go under 2.5 rounds. That's sitting at minus money right now, currently at minus 185. You got 1.5 on the ESPN Sportsbook, so we shall see. All right, folks, but that is your main event right here. We're rocking with the former champion, Jamahal, Sweet Dreams, Hill. And to move on to the co-main event right here, a fun one, dude. Fiziev, he's back. Rafael Fiziev is back against La Jaula, Ignacio Bahamondes right here. Hey, listen, Bahamondes is getting an opportunity of a lifetime right here. You beat Manuel Torres in devastating fashion. You submit Jalen Turner, who was already halfway out the door, and then you get Fiziev. All right, now we're talking. But AJ, my question right here. Fiziev is coming off of 3 straight losses, two against Justin Gaethje, 1 against Mateusz Gamrot, and here we are now, man. You got to step down in competition, but against a surging prospect who you can't take lightly, in my opinion. You can't take Bahamondes lightly. What do you think about this matchup right here? Has Fiziev's career panned out the way that maybe we anticipated when he was making his initial run?
If he was in any other division, Derick, I would say no. I would think we're looking for gold. We're looking for greatness out of Fiziev and the kind of fighter he is. But that's a stacked division, brother. 155 pounds. I mean, they are stacked from head to toe. And even with Bahamondes, you said he's taken a step down in competition. Not really, just in how young he is, man. Bahamondes is an absolute killer, long, lanky. Like, this dude can fight. He's down to take the fight anywhere. It really is a generational fight that we're seeing. And unfortunately, Fiziev has found himself in the part where he might be gatekeeper coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, I say that about Bahamondes due to his lack of resume, but you can't fault a man for not getting the opportunity. Now is the opportunity to see, like, do you belong at that level? And again, it's really because Fiziev, you've fought the Moicanos, Mark Jacasey's, King Green, Brad Riddell, RDA, and then you get to that upper echelon and you just fall short, and it is what it is, right? Like, the losses to Justin Gaethje, fair play. Gamrot, what, you blow your knee out? You know, it kind of was what it was, you know? So, like, it's not as bad as it looks on paper. But X's and O's right here. You got the Muay Thai coach Fiziev, the kickboxing specialist, fighting a much longer and rangier opponent in La Jaula here, man. 4-inch reach advantage, 7-inch height advantage. There we go. And this is going to be important right here because Bahamondes has fought smaller guys before, right? But the last guy that he fought that was tiny, kind of like this right here, he lost the fight, man. Ludovic Klein. I kind of feel like this could be a repeat of the Ludovic Klein fight given the striking of Fiziev, but there's a couple more things that we need to talk about. What do you think about that?
I'm with you, Derek. I think if this fight is able to stay in Fiziev's wheelhouse, the striking, as dangerous and as many pros are in the Bahamondes corner for his striking, I think Fiziev has seen most of it all done, most of all, and he's able to solve the Bahamondes puzzle.
See, I hear that, but where was that at against Justin Gaethje, right? Like, Fiziev initiated the wrestling. Fiziev initiated the clinches, and he still got outstruck, especially in the pocket. So do you feel that way, like, earnestly? Because that's all that I hear, is that Fiziev has already seen all these strikers. If it's just striking, he's going to take them to school or whatever. But I actually think Fiziev might want to incorporate a little bit of grappling here.
Well, we saw the evolution of the game in Fiziev in the Justin Gaethje fight, but Derek, I think a lot of that, and tell me if it's ever happened to you, you're boxing in the gym, right? You're sparring it up, you take a crack that's a little harder than you expected there, or that you thought that person could hit. And you're like, damn, maybe now I need to shoot. Like, maybe now I need to play a different kind of game going forward. I'm not saying that's what Fiziev did, but Justin Gaethje has that ability to make people change their game plan. And if Bahamondes does it again, I really think Bahamondes might be able to out-grapple Fiziev in this one. Depends on how the fight actually goes. But, man, if Fiziev is resorted to something else, we might see another unexpected outcome if you're a Fiziev fighter.
Yeah, I mean, Gaethje's been turning strikers into wrestlers for years, right? So that's no surprise. But I will push back because I actually just finished watching film on this one again. And Fiziev shot early, like without any major hits or anything. He just shot early and decided we're going to mix it up. I'm going to show you I can do a little bit of it all. And you do that against Bahamondes, that might be your path to victory. That was Ludovic Klein's path to victory. He boxed them up, finished the rounds with control on the ground. Now, if this is purely just a striking matchup, this is where I'm going to beg to differ. I think Fiziev is lightning fast. I think he's way faster than Bahamondes, and I think that's actually going to give him some problems right there. But where I see Bahamondes being able to make up for the lack of speed is the ranginess and the pace and the pressure that he puts on, man. He's just nonstop crushing distance, nonstop. It's hard to kick going backwards. It's hard to land power going backwards with the style that Fiziev presents. Like, Fiziev is not really a slick pinpoint counter striker per se, and when they trade into the pocket, while Bahamondes is a little bit more slow, I actually think, just like I had mentioned to you in the last week, right? Clinch work. What happens in the clinch? Who wins in the clinch? Fiziev ideally should be an expert with that Muay Thai clinch, but Bahamondes is way taller and way longer. He's nasty with that clinch coming out of that camp, that Mike Valley camp out of Chicago. That Bilal Muhammad does the same thing. Clinch up, uppercuts, hooks, disengage. What do you think?
Yeah, the last place you want to be is in a Bahamondes clinch, eating knees up the middle if you're 5'8", right? Like, that sounds like a horrible day, horrible game plan. I don't expect Fiziev to look too end up in those clinch battles, but he's going to need to close that distance and put himself in that danger to be able to land his best game. Whether he wants to take this fight to the ground or not, if he's able to get in the inside, do damage on the hands and feet, you stuffed the long fighter close where they can't hit you at the end of your shots, but you're doing that. He has ability to take it to the ground if he needs to. It's going to be interesting because this was one of those fights, Derek, where I'm on the fence, man. I can see either fighter winning this fight.
Yeah, no, fair, totally. Like I said, this is a proving grounds matchup right here. I did have a couple reservations about the cardio of Fiziev, but then you have to remember he took that Gaethje fight on short notice, so, that is what it was. Mixed in the grappling too, so that's probably going to tire you out. And then lastly, man, let's just talk about how we see it going. We're going to call it a flyer. It's not a flyer because he's actually the favorite right now. It's trending downwards, but mine is about 125 right now for Bahamondes. I'm going to roll with Bahamondes, man. I'm going to take the young buck, the long rangy dude. Hopefully I think he's just been progressing and growing, and Fiziev, I feel like, has been kind of staying at the same spot. So I like Bahamondes. I'm going to take over 2.5 rounds right here because Bahamondes is a dog, and Fiziev proved in the Gaethje fight, he got a chin, dude. He could take him and keep it pushing, you know what I mean? So that's my play. How are you seeing it?
I like it, Derick, and I can see it coming forward, and I'm with you. I do think the trend is going to stay the same. Fiziev still might be in the same place, but I think he's going to win this fight, man. He's still at the top, near the top of the division, and Bahamondes is surging, and I do think we're going to see him up there eventually. I think Fiziev is going to be the better man this night. I'm taking the underdog, man. And actually, I like the decision. I think we're going to see a striking clinic, or at least, even if we do see the grappling, I think we're going to see a clinic from the Fiziev side showing him he is still the veteran in the game. It's going to be a very exciting one nonetheless. Give me Fiziev by decision.
Sheesh, man. Combined finish rate of about 75% for both of these fighters. So we'll see what happens with the decision. I can see a late finish, but decision is definitely in play. So that is your co-main event right there, folks. All right, AJ, now we're going to jump into the weeds a little bit, folks. This is a little bit of a, how would you say, this is not a casual friendly card right here. You're going to find out about some fighters you haven't heard about before. Remember, it's in Azerbaijan, right? So you just, fair play. You got to appease the crowds. Curtis Blaydes has been sanctioned to the unknowns of the heavyweight division to fight Rizvan Kuniev, right? A former PFL guy who is coming on over right here and trying to make a name for himself. I don't know. Curtis Blaydes is stuck in this kind of no man's land right here. Why do you think this bout is taking place before we jump into this? What did Curtis Blaydes do to deserve this? You just fought for an interim championship against Tom Aspinall, and now you're fighting a dude who's making his UFC debut.
Derick, I was thinking about exactly that because when I first saw this fight, I thought somebody dropped out to fight Curtis Blaydes and they filled somebody that was in the region, right? Another fighter. And then look, that's not the case at all. This was from the jump. In fact, Kuniev was supposed to fight Curtis Blaydes a couple different times. So This fight has been made in the books. And I'm thinking why? I'm with you. Why has Curtis Blaydes, or how has Curtis Blaydes found himself there? And actually, I think it might be a good thing, Derick. I think this might be Dana White showing Curtis Blaydes man, you've had some rough luck. You've had some rough run-ins. We like you as a fighter. You're a company man. Here's an unknown fighter. You're going to be in Azerbaijan, but go make a play. Go get your name back up, because I do think Curtis Blaydes has a fan base where people want to see him. He's just been on the wrong end of the knockouts lately, brother.
Fair. I think longevity is the other play right here, man. He's been around for so long. I don't want to be on the dramatics that everybody is on right now, but I do think that this is probably the worst the UFC's heavyweight division has been in a long time. There's nobody there. Who is there to fight? Who's a top 10 fighter that can give a challenge to Curtis Blaydes right now that hasn't already beaten him, or that he hasn't already fought and beaten, So, all right, enter Rizvan Kuniev, who is most notably known for a victory against Hanan Faeda and then popping for all types of steroids and getting that overturned into a no contest. It was a decision victory, though, so shout out, because after that fight, Hanan Faeda went to fight Francis Ngannou and got knocked out by Ngannou, so it just kind of was what it was. But impressive nonetheless. His biggest accolades here, AJ, is an 11-fight unbeaten streak, we're going to call it that, 4 first-round knockouts in his last 10, and he was an Eagle FC champion, which I actually think is now a defunct promotion. I don't think Eagle FC exists anymore. So, you got a dude who fought on the Contender Series a couple of times. He's got a crispy left hook for a heavyweight. I will say, he has decent striking for a heavyweight. But outside of that, what can he do to have victory here against Curtis Blaydes? I just feel like this is literally a gimmick setup fight for Curtis Blaydes, and I don't have much on it. What do you think?
I was reading my notes, trying to find a way, Derick, and I realized you said exactly what it is. Fast hand, solid chin. He can work the combos, and he needs to find the moments where he hits hard. But Curtis Blaydes, I feel like we're talking about levels right here where, this dude's fighting the top cream of the crop in the heavyweight division. Yeah, getting knocked out, but going up against the level of what we've seen, we haven't really seen it. And no offense to the PFL fighters, we have not seen a PFL fighter enter the UFC and just make massive waves.
Mm-hmm. Kayla Harrison, but yeah, besides that, there hasn't really been anybody else. I wrote the same. I wrote the same thing on my notes right here, man. You fought strikers like Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and Alexander Volkov, and you think this dude is going to give him problems? I think Curtis Blaydes can keep the fight standing the entire fight and win completely that way. I think he could wrestle him. I do have an interesting quote here for you, though, and this is Curtis Blaydes' reaction to finding out about Kuziev's PED pop, right? He said, essentially, all he had saw was the Dana White Contender Series fight, the last one against Hugo Cunha, and he was like, yeah, he's just another regular heavyweight, bro, nothing special, all right, Then he found this out, and then he was like, all right, Once Blaydes learned all of this, he says, even if he is on some stuff, I don't believe it's going to help him with his sprawling or help him take a punch. I'm all right with it, even if he is on some stuff. So you got a confidence level so much in the heavyweight division where Razor Blade says, go ahead, take all the juice you want. You're still like, listen, that's not a skill enhancer right there. Be as strong as you want. We're heavyweights. It is what it is. So, AJ, what else can we say? But Curtis Blaydes levels, the way I see it is Blaydes by knockout under 2.5 rounds, minus 135. How do you see it?
Couldn't have said it any better, Derek. Myself, that is literally the line.
Any possibility this goes longer?
Under 2.5? No. I'd be surprised if this makes it over 1.5.
That would be a stock drop for Curtis Blaydes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, fair. Well, again, folks, short and sweet. We don't got much on that. Blaydes is currently tracking as a minus 260 favorite right now. And when we look at a knockout odd for Curtis Blaydes, we are tracking plus 130. I'm surprised that is plus money. I figured it would have been a minus money. I would take that plus 130 knockout all day long and twice on Sunday. All right, let's move on to the next one here. AJ, again, you got a dude who actually people have been wanting to come on over to the UFC for a little bit, but odd kind of matchup and placement. Tofik Musayev versus Mike Orolbai. Musayev, AJ, I don't know how much you know about him, but former Ryzen champion back in the day, back in 2019, fought in Bellator. I'm going to bring up, before we jump into this, the scandalous, controversial finish loss that he had against Alexander Shabliy back in 2023 in the Bellator Grand Prix. But before we jump into that, have you ever heard about Musayev? Has he been on your radar?
Not before we started looking up these fights, Derek, and then that really started to put on. But no, I mean, kind of out of nowhere for me.
So, yeah, Musayev has been a name. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, he's been a guy that people are like, oh, man, I hope he can make it to the UFC before he gets too old, which is the story for a lot of these fighters. But one of the biggest performances that he had in the Bellator Grand Prix is he knocked out Sidney Outlaw. We should all remember that name, OG Sidney Outlaw. And then you fight Alexander Shabliy. Very tentative, 5-round fight right here. I believe it was in the semifinals of this Grand Prix. And AJ, long story short, almost nothing happened, but Shabliy was squeaking out a victory. He was technically winning at this point of the fight. And he hits him in his solar plexus, man, just a little teep in the solar plexus. And dude says, nope, nut shot. I need a second. Can't continue. Fight called. That was it. The man gave up, AJ. And listen, if you get kicked in the solar plexus and the foot comes down and it skims the cup and all that, is that a good enough reason to not be able to continue a fight at that level of stakes? I don't think so. Have you seen that fight? Have you seen that clip?
I've seen the clip. I didn't watch the fight, but yeah, Derek, I'm with you. No, it's zero excuse. Even if you get kicked in the groin, you just wait the 5 minutes. I guess they did back then. They might not have had the 5 minutes, but still, you keep fighting regardless.
Yeah, so you didn't miss much in the fight. Not much happened prior to that. What you should know just from the tape of Musayev is that the dude is a solid striker. Like, no doubt. He's a solid striker. I think that if this fight stays standing, he can have massive success against Mike Orolbai, right? Like, just cleaner, crispier. What the notes that I have on here is that he heads off his opponents decently well, but he does tend to follow a little bit. But the big key is throwing that 1-2 relentlessly over and over and over again. And Orolbai has a similar game plan, more or less. The only difference is he gets to those hips here, AJ. Musayev, can he, from the tape that you've seen, do you think he can keep this standing against Orolbai?
If it stays technical, if he stays at range, Musayev, if he stays bouncy like we've seen him do, I like it. I like him being able to keep this fight standing, especially because Orolbai does like to engage on the feet, and especially if he can't get his hands on you, then we're going to be seeing that fight all day long. If Musayev is able to use that pressure fighter to keep the counters coming, I think that's going to be his best path to keep this fight standing.
Which can be dangerous, man, because, I mean, we saw in the Rebetsky fight, when Orolbai can't consistently get to the hips, it doesn't really look good. He won 8 in a row before that split decision loss against Mateusz Rebetsky, and I remember Rebetsky was a huge underdog in that fight right here, so it does trouble me a little bit that Orolbai is only a minus 175 favorite here against Musayev. Some would say that Musayev could be considered a favorite in this fight, but I think Orolbai is good enough, man. I don't think that on the feet, again, he's slower, he's rangy and all that, man, but like just the relentlessness to get to the hips should be able to get the job done right here, because he throws that rear right hand and falls into the takedown attempt, which I love. I just, from like a technical standpoint, it's one of those things that it's like almost like a Habib a little bit, you know what I mean? Where it's just like you're forcing the takedown, but you're at least throwing something to set it up instead of just trying to shoot naked, trying to shoot blind. Averages about 5 takedowns landed per fight at a 44% clip. So cardio-wise, it's going to be interesting. Team Alpha Male versus Kill Cliff FC. You know how highly praised Kill Cliff is. What else do you got on Musayev here?
Musayev, Derek, I mean, his best path to victory right here is going to be working, staying fluid, and keeping it technical. Stay at range, be not necessarily flashy, but hit him with the stuff that people like to see, and then get out, right? Get out of there. Yeah. Orolbai, man, this is going to be a fun one for Orolbai if he's able to get in his pocket, right? If he's able to get inside the distance, close that up, grab a hip, put him to the ground. Orolbai's down to scrap nonetheless, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. But if he's able to get to his pocket, he has a good shot at winning this fight.
Now, the thing that kind of troubled me here is when we look at totals, I was looking at over 1.5 rounds, and I said that makes a ton of sense to me. Minus 230 is what I tracked it at last. But why is the line set at 1.5 rounds? That's really the big question right here. Given that the over is so heavy, over minus 200 on that point, it goes to show the odds makers are confident. But are they thinking Orolbai takes him down, gets him out of there early? Like, the line is set for a reason. I was confused as to 1.5. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question, Derek, because I also thought 2.5 would be more of a interesting or a more common approach to how I was looking at this line. But 1.5, I'm not sure. I can't come up with something.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's the unproven nature, kind of what you're alluding to, right? You're like, we haven't really seen many PFL, Bellator fighters, these regional dudes come through and just like steamroll. We haven't seen too much of that one, and I think it's just a lack of confidence in seeing what they can do in the big show. Again, Orolbai is coming off of those fights against Rebetsky, Elvis Brenner. Beat him. That was huge right there. Uros Medic beat him. Like, those are huge, huge victories. But let's not forget, Musayev has fought like Patricky Pitbull, Sydney Outlaw, Shabley. Shabley's good, bro. And then, you got some other fights over there. He was in Ryzen a couple of times before making it back. But that's the play. Orolbai, taking it long. Are you taking just the over 1.5 or you go in decision?
Derek, I'm taking the over 1.5. I think Orolbai, if he can get this fight to the ground, he can get a finish right here. So whether it's KO or submission, depends on how it's actually working out, but I like the over 1.5.
All right, fair play. Let's keep it on pushing to the next one. All right, Nazim Sadykhov versus Nicholas Motta. I would be lying to you if I didn't say that this was a heart-wrenching breakdown for me right here, because I'm a big fan of both of these guys. But Nicholas Motta, man, you got to love the story. You got to love the persona. You got to love the Viking mentality, even though he's a Brazilian, right? A crusader, a man who marauds, who goes across the world. He was just in China where he had to go rack up a victory. Now he said, I'll go to Azerbaijan. I don't care. I'm going to fight a dude who's a minus 440 favorite in Sadykhov, a dude who's cleaner fighter, a dude who realistically, man, I mean, I think has big prospects in this division right here in Sadykhov. Now, the question is going to become, what is this matchup per se? Is this a firefight with Nicholas Motta just looking to throw big bombs, land that left hand? Or is this going to be a very technical fight with Sadykhov looking to counter-strike, mixing a little bit of grappling, do a little bit of everything? How do you see it?
I think it's going to lean more towards the Sadykhov technical striking. I mean, you're fighting Nicholas Motta. You're going to be in a dogfight regardless. It's one of the reasons we like him so much. And if Sadykhov isn't able to be technical, isn't able to keep that distance, Motta might run away with this fight right here. But I do think the skill level of both of them and the promise both have in their own respective rights, I think this one's going to be a little bit longer of a fight leading towards that technical style.
Yeah, I mean, this is also one of those fights for Nicholas Motta, one of the few fights as of late where he's not the significantly smaller guy. Like, he's on pace, on average size with Sadykhov right here. The last two, Mahashate is a super long, lanky dude, and Tom Nolan, who's just a monster in the division, decisioned Mahashate and knocked out Tom Nolan for a huge upset right there. I think, though, AJ, the best version of Nicholas Motta is the version that throws 2, 3, 4 shots on one committed go right there. The Nicholas Motta that we've seen that throws 1, 2 pot shots and just kind of plays that game, I don't think he wins this fight. I think you have to disrupt it, and as he had mentioned, if it goes technical, it's probably Sadykhov. So you got to make it ugly right here. What can he do to do that? Because the thing about Sadykhov that I like the most is he's super clean counter-striking in the pocket. He uses that that modified MMA shoulder roll very well. I don't know how much you want to shoulder roll against a dude throwing bombs like Nicholas Motta, but he sits in that pocket, rolls, and then gives his back, gives punches and bunches back. So that's why I think that this could go firefight while being technical at the same time, which is like fight of the night performance. We love it. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be fight of the night performance, Derek. If you're looking for a Motta path to victory right here, I was literally with you on the same plane, Derek. Play the range game at first, right? Let Sadykhov think we're going to be technical in here. Blitz in on those counters once you see an opening. Throw those combos, throw with that heavy heat, right? Hopefully he does shoulder roll into a hook, and then glide out. And then just rinse, wash, repeat, keep it going, stay at range, stay safe, blitz in, get close, and then glide on out. If Nicholas Motta can do that, and like you said, that chaos right there will be a firefight, we will have a very interesting night and a very exciting fight in our hands.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And this is interesting too because the over is set at 1.5 on this one as well, and over is minus 155. So there is a little bit of juice for the under on this one, which I can see a finish happening early in this one. One, because Sadykhov is a really great downhill striker, and what I mean by that is when he gets you corralled against the cage, he unloads. Like he hips fully into his shots. This is not just let me just give you a little something. This is bad intentions type striking. But Motta, on the other hand, man, if you hit Sadykhov with the proper blitz, one thing I have noticed from watching tape is that he backs up in a straight line when he gets pressured too heavily. Motta, if you could land the leaping Iron Mike left hook, call it the Iron Motta, we'll see it. You know what I mean? If you could land one of those, it could be lights out right here. But yeah, that's really the big X's and O's right there. Do you got anything else on this one?
Those are the big X's and O's, Derek. It's in a lot of these fights, especially with how talented these kind of fighters are, it really does come down to how the prep went into fight week, because they got to be adjusted, they got to be going forward. If we see a dog fight, mark your count or mark the fight, folks. This could be fight of the night. This one's going to be exciting. I'm taking Sadykhov. I mean, I see this one as well going longer. So whether you're rocking with an over and under, I like the over 1.5 right here. I see a decision probably, but I mean that knockout's always on the table with both of these fighters.
Yeah, like I said, this was a heart-wrenching film study for me. I'm going to roll with Sadykhov money line right here. I do like the over 1.5. I think that he's going to respect the power of Motta, which is going to draw this fight out a little bit longer. And I think it really comes down to this is an output game. The guy with more output is probably going to win. And historically, the trends are Sadykhov is landing almost 5 significant strikes per minute. There we go, something like that. Yeah, and Nicholas Motta at about 3.5 right there. So I think Motta could change the game with one shot, but we're going to go with Sadykhov on this one. And yeah, let's keep it pushing. Let's go to the next one, brother. All right, man. To open us up, this is going to be the opening bout of the main card. And for good reason here, Muhammad Naimov gets another opportunity right here and gets another tough opponent. I'll just say tough opponent, Bogdan Grad. Bogdan Grad is a guy, from what I've watched, who seems like he wasn't supposed to make it to where he's at right now in this position. Like, he just wasn't supposed to get here. You beat Michael Aswell Jr. It was a split decision matchup on the Contender Series. You get a UFC shot. You fight Lucas Alexander, who is super well praised, awesome, slick, decorated striker, and you knock him out. You get him on the ground and you mount him and you finish him. And now you get Muhammad Naimov, who, in his own right, suffered that third round rear naked choke loss to Felipe Lima right there. Big upset. So Naimov was supposed to be this guy. They say, all right, well, Bogdan Grad is kind of overachieving right now. Let's see how you two match up. And as you could probably tell, Naimov opened up. He's my minus 270 favorite, plus 230 comeback for Bogdan Grad. What do you like about Bogdan Grad right here? What makes him dangerous?
I like that he's very fast, Derek. Likes to push the pace. I wrote down frantic combos because I needed a better adjective instead of frantic. But really, I mean, it is kind of what it is, man. He's throwing them in a flurry. He's hitting you with a bunch of different stuff. And he hits hard, right? He has that brawler style of striking. Watch for the spinning attacks. Like, the thing I like most about Bogdan Grad is you know what you're going to get, but he always is able to prove just something a little different, and he's in it for the scrap.
Yeah, I mean, more or less from what I saw is the striking is a means to an end, and it's to the takedown. It's to get to the hips. Now, it depends on his level of urgency. In that Lucas Alexander fight, it seemed like he was very, very urgent to, I just have to get to your hips and I have to take you down. But you also know what level of striker that you're up against. Naimov, I would not say, is like a pinnacle of striking type fighter or a pinnacle of grappling type fighter. I think he's very well rounded. He does a little bit of it all, but he doesn't excel particularly anywhere. He's just a brick house with very powerful hips who knows how to win a points game right here. And Naimov, I think, has a lot of pressure because Bogdan Grad can win this fight, AJ. You know, I know that might sound crazy, but he can win this fight as a plus 230 dog by taking Naimov down, taking his back, and submitting him or getting to a good enough spot to be able to land some ground and pound. I'd like to see a little bit more ground and pound out of Grad in these control positions because he kind of waits till he gets to a really dominant position, like a mount position, to like really start unloading. But what does Naimov have to do to keep this fight standing? Because you know Grad is going to be relentless.
Yeah, what Naimov needs to do, Derick, is stay at range. Don't let him get to your hips. Work those combos, work those counters, and really just start throwing stuff up the middle, right? As frantic of a pace as Bogdan Grad likes to put on people to, like you said, get that means to an end, you got to not necessarily match it, but you got to shut it down as fast as you can. Best way, throwing stuff up the middle, getting this dude off your trail.
Yeah. I do think fundamentally Naimov is the better fighter. Just through and through. I don't think that there's many questions right there. But again, the better fighter doesn't always win on that night. Is this more or less, let's see, is this a hometown game? Kinda, right? Naimov, I don't know where exactly he's from. I see a flag. I can't identify it. But Tajikistan. So no, he's not from Azerbaijan. But he is putting on for the handful of, or maybe less than a handful of very skilled fighters coming out of Tajikistan. All right, man. The Khan Offley fight showed me that when he's in his bag, Naimov he can do it with the best of them. I wonder how much is going to be up against the cage, just kind of clinched up right there. How much activity? What kind of referee will it be? Again, we got to remember, and I should have prefaced this at the beginning of the program, but this is in Azerbaijan with a commission that most likely does not get a lot of experience in reffing fights. What's going to matter? Control or damage? That's going to be the up for grabs. So do you think that Naimov is a safe play at minus 270? I'm going with Naimov, but do you think he's safe at such a heavy line?
No, man, now that you've even reminded me, Derick, and I've been thinking about this card all week, about this in another country. With the judges, it's going to be interesting to see, hopefully, damage and all the normal stuff we're seeing that has driven us to make these picks have been going the way we're going to see it going. Is it safe? Minus 270. No, I think Bogdan Grad can win this fight, Derick. I think there's a possibility where the pressure just takes over, right? You just the space keeps getting crushed, and there's nothing you can do except get dumped on your head, and then now you're fighting a Bogdan Grad style of fight. I can see it. I don't feel it's safe, but I am also with you. I'm rocking Naimov. I think he is the better fighter. They might not always win, but he's patient, which could be a double-edged sword in this style of fight, but hopefully he's able to find the holes that Bogdan Grad presents.
Yeah. I mean, listen, should be a fun fight right here. We'll see what happens. Remember, Naimov can grapple too. It's not like he's just some pure striker or anything like that. So Naimov is the play. I'm going with over 1.5 rounds at minus 285. I think this is probably going to lean towards a decision unless a submission happens, but I'm not sure if we're going to see a knockout from Naimov. We good on this one?
We good on this one, Derick? Naimov, I'm actually taking decision right here.
Yeah, all right, fair play. Let me see where we're tracking it, just so the people can know. Oh, they don't even got the odds out for that one. Do you got an odds on that one?
I had it up. I know, I was looking at ESPN too. I didn't.
Yeah, it's not on ESPN right now. It's all good if you don't.
Plus 180.
All right, plus 180 for the decision play, Muhammad Naimov. All right, fair play. Okay, so, folks, that was your main card for UFC Baku. Like I said, a little bit for the hardcores, less casual friendly, but there's going to be some good performances and a lot of money to be made. Now, we're talking about the real money. The sharp corner picks of the week. We're going to give you 2 high confidence plays that you can go ahead and roll out right here. And may the best man win. Like I said, every week it's a competition and we'll see who gets it done. AJ, go first for your sharp corner pick of the week. What are you seeing?
Folks, what I'm talking about this week is Blaydes versus Kuniev, under 2.5 at minus 135. I mean, we talked about it before. I'm not going to beat a dead horse right here. Blaydes has all the abilities to steamroll Kuniev in at 2.5. I mean, it was a no-brainer to me. Whether it's submission, whether it's knockout, I think this fight is ending early. I mean, unless Kuniev has a trick he could pull out of his sleeve and absolutely starch Blaydes, I don't see that happening. I see this play hitting. Cash it in.
Yeah, that's a Euro step into a layup right there, folks. That's easy money right there for sure. All right, folks, I went a little chalky with mine, but I actually combined it into a parlay for you guys because I'm that confident about these ones. Two of the fights that we just talked about, Naimov versus Grad, over 1.5 rounds. Combine that together with Musayev versus Orolbai, again, over 1.5 rounds. That's still leaving you chalk, but minus 101 right here. So you bet $100, you more or less win $100 right there. I've been eyeing this one since the beginning of the week. Again, my synopsis on this one is that I just don't know why they're taking the 1.5 rounds for these styles. If you're looking at Naimov, he's going to have to fend off the relentless grappling of Grad. That's going to extend the fight if he doesn't get submitted. Again, he got submitted against Lima. He gets his back taken, but he knows how to get out of that position. He just got caught against Lima. For Orolbai and Musayev, this is the unknown, banking on a Bellator fighter right here, a Ryzen fighter, if you will. But again, grappling, heavy style, unless it's an early submission or an immediate TKO in the first round, I'm more than confident to go past, 7.5 minutes in the fight for both of them. I'm not saying a finish can't happen, but over 1.5 rounds is the play for both of those ones. So again, combine them together, minus 101 is your odds, and that's a sharp corner pick of the week. All right, AJ, we got the money section taken care of, and there is one more section that we do need to talk about here. Most notably, this is going to be a recap, if you will, but this was an Oscar-worthy performance that we just can't overlook. We can't just finish this program and not talk about it. Folks, we're going to take a step back. We're going to go back to UFC Atlanta last week, and the storyline of the week is the Rodolfo Bellato controversy on the UFC Fight Night Usman versus Buckley card. All right, man. For those who are uninitiated or are unaware, Bellato was rebooked against Paul Craig after first initially pulling out on fight day. I don't know if this was, and I don't remember, if this was like earlier on fight day or like right before the matchup, but he was not medically cleared because of herpes, AJ. First off, how common have you heard? We've been watching fights for a long time. How many fights have you seen been called off due to herpes?
This is the first. I forgot that was even the actual cause. That's wild.
And he had said before, he was like, I wasn't super surprised because it has happened to me before. And it's like, wow, all right, repeat offender. But let's not forget, folks, for, people who skipped out on biology class, you get herpes once. All of us, I think all walking humans, we all have herpes. It's just a matter of it flaring up. Whatever. The point is, he didn't get medically cleared. It was a bad look to start. Some were saying, they're like, oh, you just didn't want to fight Paul Craig. Who knows? All right. Well, we get rebooked. They make the walk. They get squared off in the cage. The fight starts. All right, we're in the money right here. Early on, the fight was actually stopped at 4 minutes and 59 seconds of round one. So this is at the very end of round one. But the fight was stopped because Bellato had Paul Craig where Paul Craig normally is, on his back and ready to utilize his guard, something like that. Illegal upkick. Blatant, AJ. Fair to say. Blatant illegal upkick where the fight should have at least been paused and a point should have been taken from Paul Craig. But instead, Bellato gets kicked. I'll provide some screenshots so you guys can see on screen. He gets kicked. He looks at the ref, arms out like, ref, what are you? And then he just falls out. He's, I'm knocked out. And then a couple seconds pass, and it's on the corner of the screen, AJ. But he pops up like he just had a seizure. I thought he was seizing or something, like legitimately when I first saw it. He pops up, scrambles back against the cage, looks like he just saw a ghost, and put on the greatest acting performance of one's career. And now, we do have to say, there's a couple notable reactions. Justin Gaethje, he says, the biggest flop in MMA history. Anthony Smith, who was a man who's had his own accusations, AJ, of maybe not wanting to continue a fight. But he says, that is a man who is awake, who tries to grapple the ref, trying to get a cheap win. And then Moicano, bro, WTF, he fell looking to the ref, then was out. Those were a couple of those responses. Bellato, in essence, has responded. He said he didn't fake it, man. He did say notably he got kicked, he felt tingly, he looked at the ref, and then he just doesn't remember. And as unfortunate as it is, AJ, I've taken a couple of naps in my day. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, right? You get choked. It is what it is, right? And I can tell you, when you go to sleep, this is not getting hit. I haven't been just blunt trauma knocked out. But when you get choked, you're doing things and you're good and you're like, oh no, I'm completely good, I'm completely coherent, and then you're not. And then you wake up and you're like, oh God, okay, all right, I guess I wasn't good, right? I don't know how similar this could be, but it looked like the man was fully coherent. You don't fall out that way with that much control when you're knocked out. Your body goes limp, some things deactivate. Give me your take on this controversy here.
Derek, this was one I had to rewind a couple different times just to watch the whole thing go down, because I have been knocked out both in sanctioned and unsanctioned fight, cold stiffed. It happens to the best of us if you're down to scrap. So no, that was not any knockout I've ever seen, right? Like you said, you get touched up, you've seen it before, you go limp, everything gets stiff, you go to bed. Yeah. That's a normal knockout, especially with the up kick we saw Paul Craig throw. Like, it came right up the butt, like right up the top, almost hit his chin. I forget if it hit his shoulder, if it hit chin, but it was right there. It kind of looked like shoulder.
Let me pause you here, because that is I forgot. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. We all think he got clipped on the chin. All right, fair. You got knocked out. But upon further review, when you really play it back, what you notice is that the chin gets grazed, and it's really a neck shot, which you can get knocked out getting hit in your neck. You actually saw this was a fight where another promotion, but they had said that this was another staged fight right here too, where a head kick was thrown, clipped the shoulder clipped the neck, and then they went to sleep. So they say, right? Maybe it could happen, AJ. Maybe you get hit on your neck and it's just a wrap, especially with an up kick right there. The legs are powerful. A man like Paul Craig, light heavyweight, yeah, powerful legs. But I digress. Continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought, like, okay, right? Like, he did get kicked. It is what it is. Maybe, because it's plain as day. He's looking at the ref, right? He's awake. Maybe he hit his head when he fell on the ground. No. Perfect move. Tucked his chin right when he fell. Looks like he was supposed to. Trained to. Looked beautiful. Great acting performance after that. This was a wild one, Derek, and I don't think the brass and the UFC are going to be happy, because this was 100% an acting job. It was rough.
Now, last part here, it's not like he was losing the fight. So this is where the questions really come in. It's like, all right, if you're losing the fight and you're really looking for a way out, okay, you were like technically winning because Paul Craig was on his back. I mean, you know, he didn't really have much success to that point, Paul Craig. Why? Like, is this just a I don't believe in myself type situation? I'm looking to get that easy payday, because the fight got turned into a no contest. So if I'm not mistaken, Paul Craig, because they announced in Georgia at the commission, they actually give the purses of the fights. Paul Craig, I think he got full pay or something. He got over 100K for that fight, was what I saw reported, and I saw a 12K reported back for Bellato right there. So it's like a no contest. Your fight technically didn't even happen. You didn't even get paid, brother. This was a big backfire. Who would do this intentionally?
I think the only way you're doing this intentionally, Derek, is if you think it's the second round, because you've been in a hell of a scrap, you've been hit up a couple times, you think, oh, it's past the 1.5. If I go down now, I've been winning this fight the entire time, I'm going to get the decision win, I'm going to get a payday, and I don't have to fight another 5 more minutes. Okay, yeah. If that's what you're thinking of when you go down, then that's the kind of fighter you are, but I really don't think that was in anybody's head while you're getting up kicked and you're thinking this whole situation out. It seemed like it was a fighter who just really did not want to be there.
Yeah, man. And Paul Craig, he says, he's not accusing Bellato of faking it, but he says it did look pretty bad. You know, he doesn't want to believe that it could be faked, but it looked pretty bad right there, man. So that is the controversy right there. UFC Atlanta, Oscar-worthy performance from Rodolfo Bellato. But folks, that is your program for UFC Baku. Remember, next week we're breaking down a big one. UFC 317, Ilia Topuria versus Chucky Olives, Charles Oliveira. It should be a fun one. Like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend, because it's your favorite fighter's favorite fight show.